Good morning, this is Omni View Episode 5, Balanced News Perspectives. Today is March 1st, 2026. We'll cover what happened, how different viewpoints frame it, so you can decide for yourself. US and Israel kill Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei in airstrikes, igniting retaliatory attacks across the Middle East. Let's start with the major escalation in the region, where reports indicate that Israel and the US carried out airstrikes in Tehran, leading to the death of Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. In response, Iran launched retaliatory strikes that hit areas including Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and Erbil airport in Iraq, with explosions and smoke reported there. US-led forces managed to down several missiles and drones over Erbil as part of the broader regional tensions that have been building. From left-leaning outlets like The Guardian, the coverage stresses the dangers of pushing for regime change through such strikes, pointing out the potential for wider instability and the civilian toll in the affected zones. Right-leaning sources, on the other hand, present this as a vital preemptive move against what they call a terror regime, hailing Khamenei's elimination and bracing for Iran's vowed fierce counterattacks. Centrist perspectives zoom in on the immediate back and forth of military actions like the sirens blaring in Israeli cities and strikes near US bases, while international views ponder if this could spark a longer conflict and test the boundaries of US influence in the area. One question worth considering is how Khamenei's death might reshape Iran's internal politics and open the door to regime change. Shifting now to a related development, Israel has released video footage showing a massive airstrike on what it claims is Iranian regime headquarters in Tehran. This bombardment is thought to be the one that killed Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, though the exact moment of his death isn't clearly confirmed in the material. The release comes amid a series of attacks that have heightened tensions across the region. Conservative media outlets portray this video as proof of a precise and decisive strike against Iran's leadership, commending Israel's boldness in targeting a regime seen as a major threat. Progressive sources, however, raise alarms about the risks to civilians and the morality of such assassinations, framing it as part of a troubling pattern of aggressive interventions that might fuel more conflict. Internationally, there's debate over the footage's authenticity and its role as possible propaganda, with some noting how it highlights the intense US-Israel partnership against Iran. A thoughtful question here is how reliable this video really is as evidence of Khamenei's death. Meanwhile, the retaliation from Iran has extended to other areas, with missiles launched at Cyprus and strikes that came close to British troops stationed in Bahrain. This follows the US and Israeli actions that killed Khamenei, and in response, the UK is reviewing its terror threat level. Explosions have also been reported in Saudi Arabia's capital as part of these wider counteractions. UK-based reporting underscores the immediate dangers to British personnel and civilians, with officials describing a real and growing threat from Iran, while acknowledging that few will grieve Khamenei's passing given the regime's aggressive history. Conservative viewpoints justify the original strikes as essential, crediting leadership like Donald Trump's for addressing the issue and cautioning about Iran's vengeful responses. From an international lens, this is seen as pulling more countries like the UK and Saudi Arabia into the fray, raising concerns about Western entanglements and the chance of broader instability. Something to ponder is how this might influence UK foreign policy and its assessments of terror threats moving forward. Next, let's look at the uncertainties surrounding regime change in Iran after this high-profile killing. The joint US-Israeli strike that took out Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has sparked debates among analysts about the future of the Islamic Republic, whether it could lead to a full regime shift or just more chaos. Fears are growing that this could widen into a larger regional conflict. European media, such as France 24, explore the constraints on American power, questioning if assassinating a leader like Khamenei will bring real change or simply stir up more disorder, drawing comparisons to previous interventions. Conservative U.S. outlets celebrate it as a key win against a regime notorious for anti-American moves, from hostage situations to plots against officials. Centrist analyses try to balance these by considering the possibilities for internal upheaval in Iran, while pointing out the hazards of escalation without a clear roadmap to peace. A key question is whether Khamenei's death will trigger meaningful power shifts inside Iran. On the international response front, the UK's Defense Secretary has weighed in on Khamenei's death and the threats from Iran. He stated that few will mourn the supreme leader, labeling the regime as evil for its role in terrorist plots and proxy wars, and stressed the increasing dangers to the West. This commentary arrives amid the US and Israeli military operations that resulted in Khamenei's killing. British coverage often aligns with the government's stance, depicting Khamenei as the head of a threatening regime and supporting the strikes as a counter to persistent dangers, including attacks sponsored against the UK. Left-leaning perspectives criticize the actions as polarizing, arguing they could ramp up global tensions without tackling underlying issues. International outlets highlight the split in opinions, with some seeing this as legitimate self-defense and others as excessive aggression. It's worth asking how this statement reflects the UK's alignment with US and Israeli actions in the region. Turning to economic ripples from the conflict, energy analysts are warning that oil prices could climb to $100 per barrel due to fears of disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz. This stems from the US strikes on Iran, which have revived concerns about potential closures in this critical shipping route, possibly echoing energy crises from the 1970s. If disruptions drag on, it could lead to a significant supply shock worldwide. Financial outlets like CNBC are preparing for market ups and downs, explaining how the tensions are already boosting crude prices and challenging global energy stability. Conservative angles link this to the importance of robust military responses to safeguard economic interests. International perspectives outline various scenarios for oil flows, incorporating OPEC's involvement and the wider economic effects. One question to consider is what specific factors might actually lead to a closure of the Strait of Hormuz. And in a bit of domestic U.S. news amid all this, there's growing outcry over Donald Trump's cabinet selections. Criticism is mounting against picks like RFK Jr. and Kristi Noem, cited for erratic behaviors such as drug-related boasts and misuse of resources. Democrats are calling it a chaotic clown car cabinet that could undermine the president's effectiveness. Left-leaning media, including The Guardian, mock the appointments as disorganized, spotlighting incidents like beer chugging on taxpayer dime and suggesting they might contribute to Trump's challenges. Conservative defenses brush off the criticism, emphasizing the nominee's loyalty and alignment with policy goals. Centrist views note the dramatic elements, like prayer circles before speeches, and how they polarize opinions on whether this setup can govern effectively. A thoughtful point to mull over is how these behaviors might impact the actual implementation of policies. Before we go, tomorrow, watch for updates on how a sustained conflict with Iran might deplete U.S. missile reserves, as officials are already noting potential strains. That's Omni. For full source links and more context, check out today's written briefing on the Omni summaries page. As always, compare outlets, look for primary documents, and separate what's known from what's assumed. If balanced perspectives are valuable to you, share this with a friend and subscribe wherever you listen. See you tomorrow.
Without taking the dive, we went on vacation. We had a nice time. My doomsday